Leaning back into the couch, Marshall stared into the empty dining room. He'd never bothered to replace the kitchen table. What was the point? After the divorce, there had only been a handful of visitors, and he couldn't remember anyone who'd been there in the last year. And when he did eat, it was usually standing at the counter or over the sink. He'd offered the house to Cheryl during the divorce procedures, but she declined, only wanting the car, the kitchen table, and a few small appliances. Over the years, he'd considered putting it on the market, but once he moved out, that'd be the final tie to his previous life, his normal life, his happy life. And as sad as it was to live here alone, it'd be worse not to have the memories. The house was his memento. Within a few hours of the judge signing the divorce papers, Cheryl had the car packed up and was heading to Arizona, taking Sarah, his only child, with her. He wanted to fight for custody, but he knew he didn't stand a chance. Cheryl was a saint, a third-grade teacher with a contagious smile who'd never had as much as a speeding ticket. And he was an unfaithful alcoholic cop with an assault charge for a domestic dispute. The domestic charge still haunted him. He came home drunk, and Cheryl cornered him, accusing him of cheating, and in an attempt to get away, he inadvertently knocked her to the hardwood floor, shattering her left wrist. Sarah ran out of the bedroom and saw her mother in agony, and looked up at Marshall with disgust. Cheryl went to the emergency room. Sarah went to her grandma's, and Marshall spent the next 2 days in Jefferson County Jail. He'd arrested dozens of men for domestic violence, and always thought how pathetic they were for hitting a woman. And now he was one of them. And even though it was an accident, and he never intended to hurt Cheryl, he knew that didn't matter. There was nothing he could say or do to fix the marriage. It was over. Cheryl asked for a divorce and full custody, and he agreed. She told him they were moving to Arizona, and all he did was silently nod. It had been over 5 years since he'd spoken to Sarah, and last he heard she was attending Arizona State. He'd sent a birthday card in August, but hadn't received a response. He didn't expect one. Odds were she threw it in the trash when she saw the return address. Sarah hated him, and he didn't blame her. Marshall emptied a bottle of Valium onto his kitchen table and moved the blue pills around like casino chips. Placing one pill in front of him, he picked up a lighter and worked the pill until it was nothing but a fine powder. Then he rolled up a $5 bill and snorted it. Near comatose, he stared out the kitchen window, thinking about his life, his mistakes and regrets. After a few minutes, he reached across the table for the cordless phone and dialed Hannah's number.